This is the Pound for Pound boxing show in association with Dirty South and Boxing Hub community. I'm here with Rohan Talks. How you doing, mate?
All good, all good. Cheers for having me on.
No, thanks for coming on. It's a pleasure having you on. Obviously, coming on from time difference in Dubai compared to here. Always appreciate that you're going to come on and have a little chat with us. Rohan, what I want to ask you is actually coming up. It's just gone 5 years since you made your pro debut now in 2016 against Gerald Dar when you stopped him. I want to ask you, what's been your boxing inspiration and what made you start boxing?
Honestly, I started when I was like 6 or 7. My brother was in kickboxing and boxing, and honestly, we were just messing when we were younger and stuff like that. And I got into boxing, and I've never really looked back. It's kept me out of a lot of trouble all the time. So it's been kind of like I wouldn't say savior, but it's just kind of kept me on the right path more than anything.
Brilliant. Obviously, in 2013, you won the Golden Glove Championship, becoming #1 in Ireland. How did it feel to win that?
Oh man, it's amazing. It was an amazing tournament. I kind of want to look back at it now and just seen even that boy that I bet in the finals was a pro from Mexico, Carlos Sanchez. He's 21-0 now as a pro, and there was just some really good talent in it. I was happy out to get the win of that tournament and have the belt still. So yeah, it's a good one to look back on now.
Brilliant. And obviously, some of your pro fights now, you've had 12 wins, 9 coming the way of knockout. Would you say you're a big puncher? You're a knockout artist?
Yeah, look, I never thought about it. As an amateur, I actually stopped a lot of opponents, and until I turned pro, and I think obviously I had a break from 2013 to 2016. I really got kind of up my man strength. Once I got that, I started noticing that I was really hurting lads, and then when I kind of adapted into the pro style, I kind of ended up obviously sparring with other pros, and I started like hurting lads, and I started breaking things and things like that have kind of happened in some of the training camps that we've been in. So I kind of start now believing that I've got that power. And there's a lot of Irish fighters that I've seen now kind of adapted their pro boxing rota around being a powerful puncher. So I'm hoping I can live up to them and have some big fights with some big devastating KOs now.
Yeah, of course. And obviously you mentioned some fighters. You mentioned fighters in Ireland, coming from Ireland. Obviously, we done a recent poll on the Pound for Pound boxing show Instagram story, which you actually liked yourself, and there was a potential fight between you and Paddy Donovan. Obviously, Paddy Donovan recently come off a win on his show on MTK Global, and then you actually welcomed that fight. Is that a fight you would maybe like to have in the future?
Yeah, no, honestly, I followed him for a bit. I think he's actually a very good talent from Ireland. Still has a little bit of his amateur style. I think he's a major talent. Like at the moment, I'm #1, he's #2. We're obviously going to align at one time or another. I think it's better probably now than it is later. He's got a big backing and support team behind him with like Andy Lee and Fury and whatnot, giving him kind of the support. Put on a Fury Joshua undercard. That's where I'd be interested with it. Put a big Irish title fight. And now there hasn't been a big Irish title fight on a big event like that, and it'd be amazing to be able to do something like that. But then I look also like Andy Lee for me was a bit of an inspiration back in the day when you're saying about inspiration for me in boxing. And he was the only pro that was doing it when I was an amateur and making a big name for himself and fighting in New York, Madison Square Garden, and men's States and whatnot. So that's kind of where I look at them kind of fights playing out, really.
Yeah, and like you just said, Andy Lee being a legend back in Ireland, obviously going on to win world titles and stuff like that, and obviously him having back in Paddy, potentially that fight can maybe materialize one day. Hopefully, like you just said, on a Fury Joshua on the cards, that'll be something special.
Yeah, for sure.
And I have a lot of Irish fans, so hopefully we'll be able to travel, wherever it is, and watch that fight as well.
Yeah, no, huge. Even when you put the poll about fellas that message me being like, we're there, wherever that fight is. Realistically, them fights, they don't really happen back home in Ireland right now, this with the way everything is, obviously, at the moment. But pro boxing in Ireland at the same time just hasn't really kicked off enough. I give credit to the lads from like Celtic Clash back in Ireland that are kind of keeping the sport alive. But it's definitely a really hard game to be a pro fighter back home.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, at that moment, obviously, some people have to maybe travel to different places if they can to get a chance to get out there and get on the card and fight on the show sometime. Obviously, with the pandemic, it's been very hard for people, even like small hall shows, small hall show fighters to go out there and fight. They have to wait their turn and maybe get a break on a big show like a BT Sport or MTK Global or Matchroom card.
Yeah, well, that's I just even see a thing about like how we're going to lose maybe a generation of boxers that just they don't have any activity right now, and it's a hard game just to stay around for. Just to, like for me, I'm boxing a year now. I just had a fight, obviously fought through last November, and then I was supposed to fight. Hopefully, I was supposed to fight this month, and they both fallen through. So it's a hard waiting game. Luckily, I'm working and stuff like that as well, so I'm kind of fortunate in that sense. But if I was just working solely focused on the boxing right now, or even now the guys going for the Olympics and whatnot, it's a hard game to keep just training hard for and without the competition.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, one of my colleague from the Pound for Pound Box Show interviewed Michael Conlon a couple of months ago, and he talked about obviously fighters might want to give up because they're not having an opportunity to fight on big show cards, and they might have to look for jobs and just give up boxing in terms of, and that's a shame to hear when you're hearing people like Michael come out and say that, and even Carl Frampton recently has come out and said that as well.
Yeah, no, I can imagine, and like for me, even though I gave up boxing after 2013 amateur, I never really thought to go pro, and then obviously I was given an opportunity to go here, but I looked at the likes of Michael Conlon when we were on the team together when we were younger, when I was younger, and I seen what he did then with Paddy in Madison Square Garden and St. Patrick's Day, and that just kind of gave me the light to take it a bit more serious, and that's what I ended up moving to London, jumping on all them small hall shows to try and make a name for myself, to regenerate my career and just get that fitness and everything back. And it's not going to be, it's just not possible. That's just not going to be possible for other lads right now. And I feel sorry for them in that sense. For me now, hopefully I'm looking to be on these big shows, and I'm getting fortunate opportunities out here in Dubai that they're still having shows. And then I'm open to obviously going over to the States and whatnot if there's also shows happening there. So it's kind of just been a lucky breakthrough really for me right now.
Brilliant. Obviously, you mentioned Dubai. I want to ask you, so are you permanently based in Dubai? Are you just there for a couple of months or for training?
Yeah, no, I've permanently based out here, but I was planning on going back to the UK after one of the fights that I had out here. I was planning on going back, but obviously COVID hit, and unfortunately I've got a lot of friends and family and stuff out here, so I just decided to make Dubai my home now. And then luckily there's been shows. I think I was on the last show that happened out here was MTK show out in Caesar's Palace. So I was lucky I got that the last March, 6th of March last year. And then they offered me another fight in November of last year. I was supposed to fight. I just ended up getting an injury literally on the last week of it. So that's the only reason I'm probably not inactive. Otherwise, I actually would have been a pretty active fighter for 2020 with two fights active compared to others anyway.
Brilliant. Obviously, let's talk a bit about your division, the welterweight division. You've got some great fighters in the UK, which you could potentially maybe one day come across. The likes of in the top 25 as well is Sam Gilly. I don't know if you've heard of Sam Gilly, Lenny Fuller, Casey Benjamin, Darren Tetley, the recent English champion Sam Antwi, Liam Taylor, and Luther Clay. Out of any of those fighters I mentioned, which fighter would you one day like to maybe get in the ring with?
Honestly, I'm not too sure on which one exactly I want to get in the ring with. I've seen when I drove to London, I was sparring with pretty much all these boys like Luther Clay, Mikey McKinson, Chris Congo, Josh Kelly, even. I was in with all these boys. So I want to see myself up around that level in the next. Hopefully, I want 1 or 2 big breakout fights this year, and then I want to see myself in the mix with any of the lads that are at the top. Hopefully, towards the end of this year or next year, that's where I want to see myself. I can either test myself or push myself against these guys. And from what I've done with sparring and challenging these guys so far, I think I can compete up that level.
Brilliant. That's even better to hear. I mean, obviously, you mentioned some top fighters in there, British level in the top 10. A fight I'm looking forward to, which is being made, is going to happen at the end of the month between Chris Congo and Michael McKinson. Obviously, you just mentioned you sparred both of them. How excited are you for this fight, and which way do you see this fight going?
Honestly, there's not. I think who was fighting before that, Congo and Luther Clay, and I was kind of like I could kind of pick who was going to be kind of maybe the winner after sparring both of them. But this one, honestly, I can't. Mike McKinson just has such an awkward start, but actually Congo does as well. So I think it's actually a really interesting fight, and I wouldn't even know which way to sway it. I did a lot more sparring with Mike McKinson, and I've seen firsthand how difficult he is. Fast hands and whatnot. When you put smaller gloves on, it's a different game. Well, I was really impressed with how Congo took care of Luther Clay at the time. I wasn't too sure that was how it was going to pan out, but definitely, yeah, that's an interesting fight for everyone.
Yeah, 100%. As a fight, it's a fantastic card to be on and to be a part of. Obviously, you've got Povetkin versus White 2. You've got Super Yusuf Kamari fighters fighting Kane Baker. You've got you got Ted Cheeseman for JJ Metcalf. You've got some great fights on that show. Is that the sort of shows you would love to be on? Maybe obviously with MTK Global and maybe BT Sport, being on some massive cards like that yourself in the future.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at, so even recently there's been a few matchroom welterweights that just become that. I'm terrible at names, so I can't even say which ones it was, but like that Marku and what was it, Rohan Charlton and stuff like that. I think I fancy it in there, any of them right now.
Oh, so you would welcome a potential fight with Florian Marku or Rylan Charlton?
Yeah. No, I definitely see myself in there with that. If my
that would be
I'm game for it.
Well, I'm sure the fans, I'm sure British boxing fans, and not just British, Irish, and Albanian fans would love to see that. Hopefully, if that was to happen, we get a full crowd, because that would do numbers in terms of following you both got. That'd be crazy if you and Florian was to get in the ring one day. Yeah,
no, for sure. Honestly, I was even impressed with his last show. The first fight, I can't remember who he was fighting the first time, and that was a bit of a shambles, but he improved massively in that second fight. And I think it'd be a good fight. I think at this stage, look, the way everything's going, you got to put your hands up to any fight right now. And it's either like, you just gotta pan it out and see what way it's going, and open to the opportunities that might come from it.
Brilliant. What I want to ask you is obviously you mentioned Marku. There's a massive fight coming up on April 10th between Conor Benn and Samuel Vargas. How do you see that fight going, and what do you think of Benn's last performance against Sebastian Formella?
Yeah, I think everyone that was the one that goes, yeah, he's the real deal now. I wasn't too sure of it before. Was it going to be just another kind of like hype thing that was coming up? But that was a very quality opponent to be able to beat convincingly. So I think he could win this fight, and I would have loved to see him against Josh Kelly just because of the hype that was being brought up. But I don't know if that's going to the paths that their careers are going to go on for the next year or two or not.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that fight could maybe one day happen. Obviously, there's talk of Josh Kelly moving up in weight now, obviously after that defeat to David Avanesi. I want to ask you, obviously, did you watch that fight with David Avanesi, and what did you make of the first couple of rounds from Josh Kelly?
Only because it'd been such a built-up fight, I ended up watching. Usually UK fights I can't really watch over here in Dubai because it's like 2-3 in the morning. I ended up staying up for that at like 3 in the morning, and it was just, I thought it was a brilliant performance by Josh in the early rounds, and then Avanesi just showed his grit and came on really strong. Well, one of the lads I was sparring here was sparring partner for Avanesi, and he even just said he just hits like thunder, really just can really bang. So when I started seeing him getting clipped with a few shots, it was kind of starting to wear him down. You can see easily throughout the rounds. So.
I mean, obviously, you sparred Josh Kelly. What do you see happening next for him? Do you see him going up in a weight class, or do you see him remaining at welterweight and fighting some more of these guys?
Honestly, it depends on what way you train yourself to make the weight right now. He was big back then. That was 2-3 years ago when I sparred him. Probably, I think it was about 2018. Yes, you're looking about 3 years ago. And he was big for the weight then. So he held out as well for like that fight was a year and a half in the making or whatnot. It's a long time to obviously keep himself ready for a fight, and to be up and down and the fight never happened. So maybe he just body needs a break, and maybe it's time he just moves up a little bit of weight and build himself into that weight category for the next year or two.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Obviously, you mentioned that you fought on the last show in Dubai a year ago, MTK Global. I want to ask you, obviously, a lot of people have been praising MTK Global, saying that it's been good for them since they turned pro. How good have MTK been for you since you turned pro?
Yeah, honestly, I can't fault them. Everything that I've asked and everything they've asked, like every time I've been asked, do you want this fight? Yeah, I want that fight. If I want anything really, I'm the only reason probably I've not stepped my career up, but I'm probably the only reason I turned down one fight because I wasn't ready. I was like in 4 weeks or 3 weeks time or something like that. That's probably the only reason I don't have a title fight already set up at this stage. It was just a little bit late notice, but fair dues, I didn't take that fight. They gave me a fight 8 weeks later after that, and I can't say any fault with them. It's just been well run. I wouldn't know what other area to look down if I was going to go as a pro right now. There is shows that happen out here, but they're maybe once a year or maybe once every other year at the moment. So for me, they were anyway giving me consistent fights. It's because of Corona now. It's not. It's unfortunately not happening. We were just supposed to have a fight on February 6th, March 12th, and then another one April 6th. MTK and that all lined up, but without crowds, it really just put a spanner in the works really for them. But then all the guys that are from the UK have all been looked after and put over to accommodated on shows over there, which unfortunately for me just isn't really possible right now.
I mean, obviously the restrictions here are meant to be changing later on this year in June. We should hopefully be out of full lockdown where people can go back to normal life and shops will be open, restaurants, sporting events will be open, spectators will be allowed back in stadiums. Could you see yourself maybe coming back over to the UK in June, July, and maybe getting on one of these shows? Is that the aim?
Yeah, I'd love to get on one of them big shows. I think I've got my hometown, one of the promoters, Neil Power. He's been literally trying to get this show running back in our home city in Waterford in Ireland. And if he gets that show going, that's the one I'm kind of like ready to start working with and get prepared for, and hopefully get a big fight on that. It's been a long time coming, but I'm waiting to see what happens with crowds. Ireland's a little bit different to the UK. I don't know exactly when the dates are that everything's going to open up again. I'm hoping to get a fight out here in Dubai in the next few weeks, I hope, and then I think in the summer either a big show in Ireland or one of these big shows in the UK. That's kind of where I'm hoping the next few months lie for me.
Brilliant. And before I let you go, just a quick message for you to your fans and supporters, and also a bit of update. I want to ask you, what's your short-term and long-term goal going forward?
In the short term, I want to just pick up a belt right now. I think I've had a lot of just consistent fights, just building myself up the rankings. I've now put myself in place to have a fight. The reason I'm probably not jumping on calling out fires, I've done it in the past, and nothing comes really of it. It's just talk. So there's been a few people we've had, like if anyone's ever done it, I've said yes pretty much to most opponents right now. So let's see what happens in the next one. Next fight hopefully should be a title fight, and then hopefully you should be stepping up the ladder after that to bigger and better fights.
Brilliant. And a quick message to your fans back in Ireland and over in Dubai.
back in Ireland, hopefully we've got something to look forward to. Big summer fight back in Waterford and WIT College. Hopefully that's what's going to happen in Dubai. Let's hope these shows come up and we can get the crowds back in as well, because honestly there's been some really amazing nights over here in Dubai for fights. If you ever get to come over and experience it, really is a great atmosphere, and MTK have helped that happen really.
Brilliant. Rohan, absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on the Pound for Pound Boxing Show, and I wish you all the best. I'm looking forward to seeing you back in the ring soon.
Cheers, man. Thanks for having me on, man.
Brilliant. Thank you. Take care now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.